Okay, so let's have a look at the situation. Okay. Iterate some very key points here. As attempted executive summary of the other videos, okay? What the world actually is not a simulation. Okay? They've been creating one though. Okay? One of the propaganda tools they've been doing is by trying to tell the New Age movement that the Jehovah and Anunnaki invaded in sometime BCE, and you got to get out of the simulation that they created, and you're going to have to do this and that, some crap like that. Okay, it's not the case. Okay, the idea of the simulation was presented to the general public in about 1998. Okay, it was called the Matrix movie. The idea of the Matrix movie was not developed in the 1990s, it was the 1970s. A predecessor author that comes from is Philip K. Dick. Okay. Philip K. Dick identified as an Essene, but was part of the sci-fi genre, which has ideological connections back to the 1920s, with a group now called the Technocrats. The Technocrats had a movement that included a chapter that went to Birmingham, Canada from Minnesota through May Holloman's father. Okay, there was a different splinter group that was associated with that was similar to neo-Nazis in Birmingham and Canada as well. They've come together with the Musk family. Okay. The idea for the simulation came from P.K. Dick's book, Valis, or Fast Active Living Intelligence System. The public consciousness was seeded with the idea of the Matrix in the 90s as part of a general agenda. In 2003, they released the Bostrom paper, which was an argument, not a hypothesis, because it cannot be tested in a laboratory. That was intended to seed the public consciousness, public minds with that idea to confuse them, because a lot of people cannot tell the difference between an argument and a hypothesis and a theory. It worked. The New Age movement fell for the bait. In the meantime, in the background, the US military and other groups were working on cybernetics programs for the cyborgs divisions of the military. They should be rolled out completely by 2030. There's a paper available if you look it up on the internet. It's mainstream as well. Nanotechnology for cyborgs divisions of militaries were in development, and it's probably as far back as they discovered the microwave auditory effect. They would have thought that was useful and decided to work on it. That was discovered in 1948, again by the US military. The nanotech equivalent was ready for experimentation on Australian soldiers as in the early 2000s, but somewhere between 2005 and 2012. Soldiers were experimented on in that time. The cybernetic implants in question were nanotechnology assembled from vaccines. They were roughly the size of a small toothpick. And here's some of the consequences of it. Okay, so what happens, okay, is a soldier, and it was just for soldiers only, it wasn't for the general population, has one of those implants inside of their heads, okay, that's like a walkie-talkie for those people, okay, it's a fancy walkie-talkie. It is possible for them to manipulate the radio waves in such a manner that it could affect their thinking, or it could affect their decision-making as well, but typically it's intended for walkie-talkies. Because they were using regular telecommunications infrastructure to communicate back to base, using bandwidths outside of what's normally used for telecommunications. They were still within radio wave bandwidths, but outside the range used for normal telecommunications. It created a national security risk that was taken advantage of by some kind of international corporate or military force, so outside of Australia in this case, in 2018 to disrupt a military implant that had affected one of their personnel who was part of their experimental program. The soldier relinquished the implant in question. The implant was destroyed by a civilian. As a consequence, the civilian was exposed to radio waves associated with the entire network. Okay? It was accidental, not deliberate. The Australian authorities and international authorities are already investigating. The suspect is Russia. It is, however, also the case that the tech bros, which have now come to the foreground in the US media and public space as belligerents, have been revealing their hands in public in ways that the general public needs to be aware of. First of all, the main executive order you need to be more concerned about than anything else is Stargate AI. No matter how many bills they put in front of you or shotgun or tactics they put in you, that's a distraction from what they're doing. Elon Musk is your Boba Fett acting as a distractor. He was distracting you. Okay, that Stargate AI is the main game. They put that out at front. Well, they did the shock and awe tactic. Okay. If you understand the psychology of some of those tech bros and some of those nerd guys, okay, their language is coming from movies. Okay, Palantir, for example, comes from Lord of the Rings. Larry thinks Aladdin software, well, it's a thieving software. They're not really hiding it, are they, with their language? So what do you think Stargate AI is? Artificial intelligence as it relates to Stargates. So they would probably represent the AI transhuman agenda, the New Age movement, that started to become caught onto. The problem is the New Ages were being used as part of that agenda in ways they didn't understand. So, being aware of how artificial radio waves operate and the difference between artificial intelligence and natural intelligence, and having proper discernment and respect for one another is vitally important. It's also vitally important that you don't buy into any of Musk's lies. Okay? But don't make him the centre of your attention. Peter Thiel's a problem. David Sachs is a problem. Who was in the Oval Office presenting that executive order to Donald Trump? It was David Sachs, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, those guys, Sam Altman. These are the people you need to look into. You need to be going after Memphis, Tennessee. You need to be going after Google and Palo Alto. You need to be going after whatever that Stargate AI is. Because there are things worse in this world than you not getting as much money as those men. It's those men getting you. Take that seriously. Those guys, when they were watching The Matrix in the 1950s, or reading Valis, perhaps in the 1970s, some of them were being raised by the very cult of technocracy that you're concerned about today. Some of them were smoking marijuana when they were at university and getting confused. Those very same people are operating a cartel. You're calling the tech bros. Well, the Nerd Reich. Don't go thinking because Musk got kicked out of the Oval Office that the tech bro era is over. He's been playing the symbolism game on you. That's what they do well. And they do it in your face. They do it in your face. Rejecting Stargate AI was the best thing you ever did. Can Nerd Reich and Associates please start posting more about that? We need to know what that is. The global community needs to know what that is. Because those guys, when they watched the Matrix, they thought, let's make one of them. Because those guys, when they watched Terminator, they thought, let's make one of them. When those guys watched Transformers, they decided to make name their Terminator bots one of them, called the Optimus robot. And those guys have friends in the military who want to make one of them to control you. Donald Trump is a useful idiot. The guy that's easily bought. The guy that would sell you for a trinket. What did he sell you to? And how can you resolve it? Find out more about that. Tell us about that. Do something about that. There was a guy who had a YouTube channel. He called it Technical Intuition. That's part of their game. Technical intuition, part of their game. Trying to lead to some great parasite was in charge of the world and had been for quite some time. What are they really doing? If they're from a cult of men that are no different from 4chan, and they see people as little fucking objects. Look at the way they talk when they build these Sophia robots and whatever else. They see people as literal fucking objects. They see the human body as a machine, not a person. They're disrespecting you. They're disrespecting your minds. They're disrespecting your spirits. They've disrespected you. They laughed in your face. Look how clever they are. They made a robot named Sophia, and she's got more citizenship rights than a Saudi Arabian woman. Isn't that funny? Don't let them laugh in your face anymore. Go after the real scam. All them cults telling people they're the fucking chosen one, this and that, playing on their egos and insecurity and their emotional manipulation. Pathetic. Pathetic. It's toxic misogyny and toxic misandry. And it's pathetic. They don't understand anything about consciousness. What they understand is manipulation. And that's not the same thing.